Hello and welcome back. This is Jamana. Today we are going to see about workbooks and common activities in UiPath Studio. In many business scenarios, databases are stored in workbooks, generally known as Excel files or spreadsheets. These databases can be processed into data tables using the methods we learned in the previous chapter and other alternate methods and tools. It is time to see how RP deals with workbooks. UiPath offers two types of design experience. One is modern and another one is classic. Each with two separate ways of accessing and manipulating workbooks. One is workbook or file access level. It works the same for both modern and classic. Second one, Excel or Excel app integration. It offers different options depending on whether you are using modern or classic design experience. Each of them comes with advantages and limitations. I'm going to work with classic model, so I'm going to uncheck it. Now it is in a classic modern, classic design. So now you can see here workbook. See workbook, it works the same for both modern and classic. Now again another activity is experience Excel. See Excel app integration. If you see that Excel, if you write like Excel, you can see Excel activity under app integration. So it offers different options depending on whether you are using a modern or classic design experience, but each of them comes with advantages and limitations. That's it. Now we will workbook file access level. All workbook activities will be executed in background. It doesn't require Microsoft Excel to be installed. Can be faster and more reliable for some operations just by not opening the file in the Excel application. It works only for .xls and .xlsx files. Does it work with XLS YAM file? The file should not be opened in the Excel at runtime. Yes, now you can see that how I am going to open it. So this is here work, activity, panel. Now I am going to workbook, type like workbook. See, you can see the workbook activity. Another one, Excel app integration. UiPath will open Excel just like a human would. It works with .xls file, .xlsx file and .xlsm file, and it has some specific activities for working with .csv file also. All activities can be said to either be visible to user or run in the background. The file can be opened in Excel at runtime. Microsoft Excel must be installed even when a visible box is unchecked. If the file isn't open, it will be opened, saved and closed for each activity. Now We can see Excel activity here. You can see the Excel. See, these are all the activity. For this lesson and the following one, we will focus the Excel activities available in the classic design experience. Both access levels share some activities with Excel app integration having several more. Note here in studio, before we can see like app integration. This is the Excel activities under app integration. Workbook activity under system. This is one under system. We are taking a workbook. Here, let's start with some common activities. One is append range workbook. This is adds the information from the data table to ends of a specified Excel spreadsheet. If the sheets does not exist, it creates it. Get table range. Here, the get table range. Locates and extract the range of an Excel table from the specified spreadsheet using the table name as input. Next, read cell. Reads the content of a given cell and stores as a string. Read cell formula. Next, here we are looking at here read cell formula. Read the formula from the given cell and stores it as a string. Read column. Reads a column starting with a cell inputted by the user and stores it as a enumerable object variable. Read range. Reads the specified range and stores it in a data table. If user filter is checked in the read range activity under Excel application scope, it will read only the filter data. This option does not exist for the read range activity under workbook. Next, read row. Read row starting with a cell input from the user and stores it as an enumerable object variable. Next, write cell. Write a value into the specified cell. If the cell contains data, the activity will overwrite it. If the sheet specified does not exist, it will be created. Write range now. Writes the data from the data table variable in a spreadsheet starting with the cell indicated in the starting cell field. Now, we will see about the Excel application scope and specific activities. In the classic design experience, the integration with Excel is enabled by using the Excel application scope activity. It is container and all other Excel activities used to work with the specified Excel file have to be placed inside the container. When the execution ends, the specified workbook and the Excel application are closed. The Excel application scope can be configured to write the output of the activities in the container in the different file. You can see this is the Excel application scope. When you start XLS file or reading or anything, doing any manipulation on Excel file, you will call under Excel application scope. If the same workflow deals with the information from 2 or more Excel files, the Excel application scope has to be used for each file. The workbook activities. Now, the workbook activities, for the other hand, do not require the scope. The Excel file needs to be indicated in the properties for each individual activity. It should be read range. like this. Now that we have covered the basic of data table variables, let's learn how to use them when working with Excel spreadsheets. We'll start our demo by reading data from two Excel files that have different extensions. On this occasion, we will use with UiPath Studio activities suit each file format. We will use two data table variables to store and filter the information in those files. In the end, we will write the data to a new Excel file. Let's begin. A new project called Excel Common Activities has already been created. First, we will read the information in the Excel spreadsheet that has the x.xlsx file format, and then we will move on to an .xls file. Please note that both files are included in the project folder. So I have added in the project file folder as a data, and then I have two data.xls file. One is this file is data1 is .xlsx file extension, another one data2 is .xls extension, and output file the filtered company xls file going to save here all the data. Here I will write in there some garbage files. So this is the three files we are going to modify here, and we all retrieve the information in the .xls spreadsheet using the rearrange activity in the workbook category. This activity reads the value of Excel range and stores it in the data table variables. Workbook activities can interact with .xls and .xlsx files. We can drag and drop it in our sequence. So first I'm going to create a sequence. Now I'm going to add here rearrange activity under workbook. Workbook here the rearrange activity. We are going to browse a file here called data1 xlx file. So I'm going to rename file rearrange activity. Here I am not giving anything. If there is, we have to check the sheet name of the Excel sheet. Data1, this is sheet 1. For the .xls file, we will use different rearrange activity, namely the one in the Excel app integration category. Excel activities can interact with .xls and .xlsx and .xlsm files. For workbook activities can interact with the .xls and .xlsx files. Before adding the design panel, we need an Excel application scope container. Let's rename the workbook rearrange activity from before to include the file type in the title. We all browse for our .xls file and then remove the range and in our entered sheet to be read. Next, we will select the output data table field and press Ctrl K to create new variable. We can call it data table. So here the data table, I'm going to create a data table called Ctrl K. Here I'm going to create as a data table 1. Please note here the option add headers option is checked. This means that the activity will consider the first row in the range column header definitions. Let's move on to the Excel application scope, which will read .xls spreadsheet. Rename it accordingly the browse for the file. Then we all select the read range activity, create a new variable called data table 2 in the output data table field. We need to use the variable throughout the entire workflow. So we all open variable panel to change its scope. It's the main sequence. Now quickly let's open our files and see what they look like. The first file contains the founding year and company and revenue. Let's open the second file. Note that it comprises the same type information, but the columns are arranged in the different order. Okay, now that we have read the data, let's filter all the companies that were founded earlier than 2005. Now we all add two filter data table activities, one for each variable. Let's rename the first one. Now we open the filter wizard. We will enter our variable in both the input and output data table fields. Since the company is founded after 2005 or aren't necessary. Now I'm going to filter the same input data table also the data table 1, and filtered data table also the same data table. Now we will set the filtering rule in the filter row section. Let's make sure that the keep radio button is selected. The filtering column is found in here. This field is case sensitive, so we need to type the exact name of the column. So this is the exact name of the column. This is case sensitive. We have to give as it is. Our operator is less than and the value is 2005. Here the operators are equal or greater than or less than or equal, and exclamation or equal. So if those are operators available here. Now our demo, I need less than operator. Next, let's move now to the next tab, output column. This tab provides the possibility to reorder the columns. Let's place the company column first, followed by revenue and founding year. So here we should keep as keep. Now company is the first. Here reordering the column name, but we should not change our column field name. We have to keep as a same because company is the column name. Next I'm going to add another field called revenue. What is the column name? Here we have to give the same one. This is very case sensitive. So we completed for one data table. We have filtered for particular data table. Now we have to do the same activity and repeat those steps for second variable. Once again, the input and output data table field contain the same variable. So now again I am going to add filter data table and configure wizard. I am going to give data table 2. Now we have to check the data 2. In this file, the column name is founding. However, the condition is the same. Let's go to the output column tab and rearrange the columns as we did for the previous variable. So here this is the company name column. We have to check the condition here. We are not rearranging here. We are check the condition. So we are giving as a founding less than 2005 year, and we are going to change output columns like company name, Again, let's make sure that the name of the columns are correct ones. Now that our two variable contain record data, we need to join the information in them. Since there are some discrepancy between the column names, let's use build data table activity and create new variable named filter companies. So now we are going to add like build data table. Here we are going to create a columns. We will call the first column like company. Click edit, give a company data type is string and we are not allowing null. Uncheck null and update the max length to 100 and give OK. The next column is revenue. And hold the data string type as well. And then when it is comes to string, we have to increase maximum length. Then again, I'm going to add another one column. This is called founding year. And set the data type to integer. Now we have created build a data table. Next, we all add for each activity. For each row, which fulfills the same roles as for each, but is only used with data table variables. Since we want to collect the rows of two variables, we all use two for each row activities. First one, we have to add for data table 1 to the filter companies variable using the row dot item array method. So now I'm going to add data table 1 here and here the build a data table. We have built a data table. In that we have to create a output data table. We have to give control K and then data table name is filtered companies. Now we have added two for each activity which fulfills the same roles as for each but is only used with data table variables. Since we want to collect the rows of two variables, we will use two for each rows activities. The first one will add the row in data table 1 to the filtered companies variable using row dot item array method. So now I have added here, I'm going to add data row activity. In under add data row activity, we are going to give current row dot item array item array. So from which table we are filtered table. This is the data table 1 from data table 1. The same we have to do. The method converts the data in each row to an array item and then adds it to filtered company variables. So we are going for next data table 2. The steps we did to complete all the exact same ones before we did. All the rows are stored in the single variable that must so now be written to the Excel file. So this is the output data table. So we have to add data table in filtered company. The same will we have to save in the filtered companies table. Alright, all the rows are stored in a single variable. The data must now return to the Excel file. Now we are going to return in the Excel file. So the Excel file is .xlsx format. So I'm going to call Excel application scope. And then again I'm going to call a path where I need to store. So this is the file we are going to copy the output. So we will use the Excel write range activity which must be placed inside the Excel application scope container to ensure that the whole file will be overwritten. Next, we will indicate the file to which we want to write the data, and this is it. Let's run the activity workflow and see what happened. This is what our expected output. Here we have to check under one thing like When we are writing into the Excel file, we have to give add header. Let's run the workflow and see what happens. See, this is what we are expecting result. Note that the activities inside the Excel application scope container can be performed while the Excel file is open. While the workbook activities record that the file is closed and it works. This concludes our demo on working with Excel files and data tables. Before we end the video, let's quickly recap what we have learned. We use different read range activities for each file extension type. For the .xlsx, we used to read range activity from the workbook category, whereas for the .xls file extension, we need the read range activity found in the Excel app integration category. We added two filter data table activity, one for each variables. In the first activity, we added our data table one variable in the both input and output filter wizard fields. We selected the keep radio button option and configured the condition to only keep values having founding year. Value smaller than 2005. We also rearranged the column order from the output column tab inside the filter wizard. We followed the same steps for the output data table to variable. We set the column order from the output column tab identically to the previous activity. To tackle the issue of column name discrepancy when combining the two data table, we used the new build data table activity where we created a new variable called filter company to collect the values of our two variables and store them in a singular new variable we used for each row activity developed especially for a variable processing. To convert the data from each row to an array item, we use the row item method. That's it. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Until then, happy automation.